company I work with had several openings. A couple of team members had quit, and they already had a couple of openings even before those two quit. And so they were looking to fill about 5 slots. And one of the newer leaders knew a couple of people who knew a couple of people. And even some of those people knew each other. And so there was an opportunity to very quickly add 4 new people to this group of 1 new person and create an almost instant team of 5. Now, the upside of that, of course, is that because these people all knew each other, or at least knew one of the other people on the team, they all had at least one connection to each other, that there was a good chance that they could come together quickly and start making a lot of progress without a lot of onboarding and the typical getting up to speed or getting acclimated or any of those kind of ideas. Now, the downside, though, was that because these 5 had a history together and had worked together in other places, well, that the risk is that they would bring the culture that they had established together at these other places. And because there was 5 of them in a small company, let's say there's 30 people in the company, and we're going to add 5 people. Well, that's a significant portion of the company. So the risk is that rather than acclimate to the company's culture and become part of that, kind of a melting pot, as we used to say in America, could they become part of what there was already existing at the company, or would they pull the company toward the culture that they had at their other companies? And this is a real risk for leaders. It's very attractive and enticing to want to quickly build a team. And a great way to quickly build a team is essentially hire a team. The downside, though, is that you've got the risk that it's going to affect your culture. So what can you do? Because there's great benefit to instant team. And a couple of ideas here are to make sure that you really slow down and spend time with each of the individuals to make sure they really understand the culture. If you've got core values, make sure you're spending time with each of them on the core values so that they understand what's expected. They understand how we do things, not just what we're doing and why we're doing it, but how do we do things? How do we behave? Now, sure, sometimes core values can be aspirational, so it's how we want to behave. We don't always achieve it. That's okay. What are we trying to do? Who are we trying to be for each other and for our customers? So spend time with each individual. Then also spend time with them as a group, especially if they're going to work together. Make sure that you're putting time in those meetings to make sure you're reinforcing those cultural norms that you want and reinforcing those core values that you want. And frankly, make sure that you're tamping down and pushing back on those core values or behaviors that you don't want. The things that they're bringing from another culture that might have been okay there, but aren't okay here. And make sure they know that. And a third thing you can do is to make the team, the broader team, aware of the challenge. Let the team know, hey guys, we have a group of people coming into our organization, and it's our job, all of us. We all own this culture. We've all worked hard to build this culture. So it's up to us to make sure we retain this culture, that we protect this culture. And so not that these folks coming in are going to intentionally try to wreck our culture or push against our culture, but they just naturally will because they don't know our culture. And they know each other, and so they're going to naturally bring some of that to us. So it's our job collectively and individually to push back and to teach and to make sure that we encourage the cultural behaviors that we want. When we see the core values, we want to encourage that and say, hey, that was a great example of X core value, or that was a great example of Y core value that I saw you do the other day. And also push back against things that we don't want. Say, hey, when you did that the other day, That's not how we do things here. That's not part of the way we work here. And you can do it in a friendly way. You can do it in a joking way. Or at least bring those examples to your leader so that the leaders can address those behaviors. Because it's really up to everybody to protect the culture. Sometimes I use the analogy of gravitational pull. So bear with me, non-scientists. So a planet has a certain gravitational pull, and it can pull smaller things into its orbit. But if you bring in a big enough other planet, it might not pull the whole planet over, but it might move it a little bit. And that's not really what you want as a culture. If you've intentionally established the culture that you want in your organization, well, then you're looking to be pretty firm and pull other people toward you, not have them pull you toward them, because their culture isn't necessarily what you want. So make sure that you're having conversations with those new teammates. Make sure you're having conversations with them collectively in their group meetings. And make sure you've empowered and educated your broader team to know what to look for. Say, hey guys, we worked really hard to build this culture. Let's make sure we protect it. We all owe it to ourselves and to each other to protect this culture. So be on the lookout. Encourage the things you see from these new folks when they do things that fit with the culture. Let them know. That's how we do things here. Great job. That really fits in with what we're doing. But also push back against things that don't fit for what we're doing. So you can get a lot of mileage quickly by bringing in an existing team or people that know each other. And they can get up to speed quickly and start performing and be effective early, much faster than they would have if you had to bring in people individually that didn't know each other, because they need to spend time getting to know each other as well as your culture. But the downside of bringing that instant team is they might have enough pull to pull you off course on your values and culture. So be aware there's two sides to this. It's probably going to be outweighed. If you've got a strong culture, you can outweigh the negatives of the potential cultural shift with the positives of the improved and quick efficiencies. So just be aware of those two trade-offs and make good decisions and make sure you're always communicating well of what you expect to everybody in the organization.